I'm sure you have questions, and we're all depending on your questions.
I was going to ask Richard, how did we reduce the lake yield from 18,000 plus acre feet a year to 12,000 acre feet a year?
If you could repeat the question too, that would.
Said, how do we reduce the
Yield.
annual take basically from Lake Casitas from 18,000 to 12,000 acre feet a year? We would do that by putting a priority on using all of our other sources first. That would be the City of Ventura's sources. There's a boundary issue with Casitas and the rest of the City of Ventura. And historically, the City of Ventura can only use the water from Casitas in West Ventura. They have a resource in the Ventura River. And because they need high quality water for the east side, they take the water from the Ventura River and they ship it east. And they take as much water as they can to supply the demand on the west side from Lake Casitas. Mostly because there's no benefit to them in storing it. They either use it or someone else will. Well, if we have a conjunctive use arrangement with the City of Ventura, the city would have a vested interest in using as much of their water resources as they could throughout the city and reserving water in Lake Casitas. And you combine that with about an average of about 5,000 acre feet a year of imported water, and that would reduce the demand on Lake Casitas.
Seems to me Andy Gilman did a nice job at the last Chautauqua about showing the graphs of where the water goes, and about 40% of the water from Lake Casitas gets pumped out of the valley, gets sold elsewhere, and then another 40% of it goes to ag, and then of the remaining 20%, most of it goes to landscaping. And so even though we're taking shorter showers and putting buckets of water out on our plants, it hardly puts a dent in anything at all. So I like the idea if we can get the people that we're selling water to get water from someplace else, that alone is going to save Ojai.
Yes, Andy.
I had a question for Russ. I was trying to understand when you were talking about the interconnected process. I think I didn't understand. Would it mean that Ventura, the City of Ventura, would get the state water and therefore not use the lake?
Initially,
Initially, okay.
yeah.
But we wouldn't be connected to the state water. Ventura would.
Well, there's the possibility. They're looking at the pipeline from Satacoy to all the way across Ventura and maybe come up the hill a ways to hook into the Casitas system. No foreign water is ever going to go into the lake. It's just not compatible. That's a possibility. The 24-inch pipe that was initially being considered was recognized by all the parties as not adequate for anybody's needs, either moving the water east to west or west to east. So now it's being looked at as a much larger size pipeline.
And I heard that there's a pipe that goes from the mission to the lake, or to Ojai at least. Is that true or not true?
A pipeline?
Yeah.
There's a gravity line that goes from Casitas all the way down to Ramona, and then into the city system that goes west to east. But Richard talked about this boundary problem. There is a state law that says districts are not allowed to sell water outside of their district, which the City of Ventura was doing for a number of years. And we finally got a new water service agreement to stop them from exporting water as rental water that they never returned outside of the district and utilizing it for growth on the east end. And I think you complained pretty bitterly about that, Bill, didn't you? Well, we stopped that.
Can we get it back?
I don't know.
Yes.
With all the water agencies that are involved, whatever plan, one, how does the process occur and who makes the decision of what the plan is when you've got so many agencies? I see where Steve Bennett has formulated this committee. I mean, would that be the
No.
decision-making body or how?
No, the administrative process for projects is very specific. Let me try to run through it for you. The City of Ventura is in partnership with Callegas Municipal Water District, United Water Conservation District, and Casitas Municipal Water District for this project called the State Water Interconnection Project. The City of Ventura is the lead agency under the California Environmental Quality Act, and Callegas, United, and Casitas are all responsible agencies under the California Environmental Quality Act. All the planning is being taken care of by the partners, but it's through a consultant for the City of Ventura. Kennedy Jenks is doing the environmental review for the project. Just in March, the end of March, they had a public hearing at the City of Ventura for the notice of preparation, which is another part of the CEQA process for any development project by public agencies. So it's very complicated, and it takes a long time. The environmental impact report will probably be completed by the end of the year. It'll have a review process, and then the design phase will come along. And I don't know if that answers your question, but just because Casitas has not got hands-on duty for the design of the pipeline or the project doesn't mean that we're not involved. We are very much involved. And so is Callegas, and so is United Water Conservation District.
So as members of the public, I mean, we just sit and wait for this consultant to come up with his plan?
Go to the City of Ventura webpage and look for the State Water Project Interconnection Project.
Did you make that announcement through your publication from Casitas to all of its customers?
Yes, I've got a new what do they call it? A landing page for water security projects coming up shortly. It's taking this consultant a lot longer than I expected, and there will be a brand new web page going out for bid very shortly for Casitas. We're going to clean up that mess. Yes, ma'am.
I have one other question. Where does the Ojai Dam fit into this? I mean, if the dam came down, does that help bring any more water into the valley?
No. No, it doesn't. It has probably 300 or 400 acre feet of storage left in it. The rest of it is silt, and we have to figure out a way to bring down the dam safely so that it doesn't cause a problem. Yes.
What is being done to encourage the gorilla in the room is ag. As an 80% user, what is being done to encourage ag to change its plantings needs?
We don't do anything. It's a business decision by agriculture. It'll probably help to be regulated by water rates, but that's a private decision by a business owner.
It's,
I don't think we can do anything.
Market forces will have more to do with what agriculture does than basically anything that policymakers do. I mean, that's a fungible commodity, and they're driven by the markets. Yes. Go ahead, Bill.
Okay, yeah, one of the core concepts of the Water Advisory Group, if the core concept, is the shift from the safe yield analysis and management plan that comes from that to the minimum reserve approach. That's a paradigm shift in terms of management plans. If you begin with a minimum reserve compared to a safe yield analysis. You heard Mr. Agis's presentation on that. I'm curious, the other three of you, what you think of that, the advisability of that paradigm shift in terms of how we manage the lake.
I
Anybody?
thought that everything he said was impressive. I mean, certainly, I'm not an expert on this at all, but I felt that he seems to be on the right track. I don't know.
I think that we're moving down the same path. All right, we're moving toward the State Water Project, water interconnection. That's been coming along for 50 some years. That's a good thing. The possibility of a pipeline east to west is in the design phase. Let's not jump the gun with major policy decisions right now. That may come along later. But a major policy decision like that needs real study and really careful thought before we do that. Not precipitously, but very carefully.
Okay. The problem with waiting to deal with that issue is you don't know how much water you need. You have to define the problem. And that's been the issue that I've tried to address with Casitas now for 4 or 5 months. First step, you define the problem, and then you start to look for solutions. And what's happening right now is City of Ventura has a very detailed written plan. Part of that plan is, under the current situation, is to take a significant amount of water from Lake Casitas by 2030. I don't think that water is going to be available to them. So it puts City of Ventura and Casitas and the service area that Casitas provides water to in a position where we really don't know what we need and what we have and what more we might need. To me, waiting to define what the yield of that lake is and how much water you need in reserve should be your number one priority before you enter into any negotiations, you enter into any issues about cost, you enter into any engineering and design things. If you don't know what you need, you are in you are in an extremely disadvantage at a bargaining table.
Yes, back there. Yes, madam. I'm wondering if the woman actually in the back behind you could.
My understanding is that there are a number of folks that believe state water should be put into Lake Casitas based on an emergency policy plan that was discussed. My understanding, and kind of paying attention to the board at Lake Casitas, they don't believe that should happen for a bunch of reasons. Russ, is that still a policy?
Are you talking about state water project being stored in Lake Casitas physically? Yeah, you can't do that because it's Northern California water. It's been disinfected. It would wreak havoc with the habitat of the freshwater system that's in the lake. And even Richard understands that. That's never going to happen.
Madam, yes.
Possibly. I don't know where. We'd have to pump it all the way to the Ojai Basin to find an aquifer big enough to hold it.
The reality is you don't really need to do that. If you use your sources as they're available, you use the lake and the rainfall we get naturally as that emergency reserve. There's really not a need to take state water and store it somewhere. There's enough demand in Ventura and in the Casitas service area to use that water up when it's available and save everything else that we have. You know, it's going to be a management choice how much of that you use versus groundwater, but the benefit of it is that it not only reserves the lake, but it takes the heat off of the groundwater basins, which suffer the most during droughts because people turn to that as their last resort.
Go ahead, madam.
This question goes to us. Just curious, the timetable here to the line and it's obviously making pieces of fruition. What is their timetable? They're vetting maybe other organizations for their project.
For Callegas,
For the Three Sisters, for Callegas.
Looking at other solutions.
they're in a world of hurt.
What is your timetable to get back to them according to?
Well, like I said, the process has already started. The environmental impact report outlining all of the issues related to this project will be coming out the end of this year, probably. Then the design phase. And as I stated, the east-west pipeline is already being reviewed by the consultant to make sure that it's big enough to accommodate the needs of Callegas should they have an emergency and they need water from the lake.